Hey everyone, Space Marine 2112 here, finally doing the Black Sabbath album tier list. It has been a while, I've been kind of busy lately, and as I've been working, I've been trying to make my way through all the Black Sabbath albums. Again, I knew, of course, they're hits, especially the Ozzy ones, several of the Dio ones as well, but I'd never really truly gone through all their albums in order to do one of these tier or ranking lists. So I decided lately to go through all of them, and now I can do it. In honor of Ozzy, I am going to go through all of these albums and rank them as best as I can. The only one that I do not know anything about is this. It says Heaven and Hell on it, so I don't know if it's like a remaster or re-release or what it is. But I don't know what this is. So, if you know, please let me know. I tried to look up on Google Black Sabbath Red album with like Demon or Red Heaven and Hell album. There was nothing telling me what the heck this was. So I don't know if I'm just terrible at looking things up or if this is just some obscure bit of literature here. But I am going to just start off with putting that a D because I don't know anything about it. It probably is pretty good, but in terms of what I know, no idea. Anyway, so then we go to 13, which is Ozzy's return to the band after his long hiatus. And I do think that, in general, I think Ozzy's albums are the best with Black Sabbath. I think his whole his presence really makes the band what it is. I do like Dio's stuff a lot as well. That's probably my second favorite phase of the band, but again, when it comes to Ozzy, that's true Black Sabbath there, and I will eventually get to his solo stuff as well. But I went through this album, and it was pretty new to me. I knew like one song, Methodemic, on it, which I really liked before, but when I actually listened to the full thing, I really do like End of the Beginning, Age of Reason, Live Forever, Damaged Soul, Dear Father, Methodemic, of course, Peace of Mind, Pariah, all those very good songs. Even God is Dead is a pretty good song, but as a Christian, I don't know, some of those lyrics are a little iffy to me. I think, from reading about it after his death, I think Ozzy was kind of a Christian, but then at the same time, he had like his stage persona and everything, so maybe some of that's, it does have a question mark. I don't know. I just, when it gets that close to the line there, I can't, in good conscience, add that song to any playlist because I don't know what I'm listening to in that case. I gotta be sure. So, but in total, I do really like the album. Is it as good as some of Black Sabbath's earlier Ozzy albums? I don't think so, but it is definitely a great return to form, and from what I could tell, it was the last album that they ever released. So I think it's a decent album to end on for sure. Then we go all the way back to the beginning here. I like how they have them ordered in this way. With Black Sabbath, just their self-titled. I really like their earlier sound. It's very dark but bluesy. A lot of the progressive rock and metal bands started with the blues, but it's like a heavy sort of blues and kind of progressive-y too, especially with some of the songs like The Wizard, or, they put all the songs together like A Bit of Fingers, Sleeping Village, Warning. I think all that, and, the title track, Black Sabbath, I think all those are, pretty darn good songs. It is not what Black Sabbath would eventually become with their music, but I really think it's a good beginning, and it's just very unique, very interesting to see how this type of music began, because they're like kind of the fathers of this music here. So I'm going to put this, again, it's not bad at all. Is it The Peak, which is coming up? I don't know. I'm going to put it at B for now, and we'll see how all these albums kind of stack up here. I don't know how many per row we're going to have, but anyway. And I might have to make another row of just things I don't know for this one, but we'll get to that. Anyway, then we get to their second album, Paranoid, which, anything that has War Pigs on it is immediately going to become like one of my favorite albums ever. But then, you got Paranoid, Iron Man, come on now, Iron Man, amazing, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, Jack the Stripper, and Fairies Wear Boots is amazing. The only two that I did not add from this onto my playlist was Planet Caravan and Electric Funeral. Again, I listened through everything. I have not internalized everything deeply yet. I'm kind of just going off of my my first instincts listening through all these songs. So those two didn't really do it for me, but I do remember a lot of these, and even Rat Salad. Just the name of it was kind of weird for me, but I really loved kind of the interesting uniqueness of that song. So I think Paranoid should definitely go into the S tier. One album that I had not really, I mean, I knew Sweet Leaf and Children of the Grave, but that was all I knew before I looked into this. And they actually had like Solitude and a couple of those songs that are like just really nice, like guitar type, like ballads, very soulful singing. I thought that was pretty darn cool. Not really my speed. I like when there's at least some sort of drum keeping beat in there because as a drummer, of course, I kind of like that. Sometimes I like a nice, relaxing, kind of peaceful song, and that's when I would put on something like that. But I thought that was interesting for Black Sabbath, and it kind of impressed me. But off of this album, I liked Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Children of the Grave, Lord of this World, and Into the Void. I don't think I liked it as much as the album before it, but it still stacks up as top tier Black Sabbath. I think I'm going to put it at A for now and might move it around as I go through these again. Now, Volume 4, interesting name for an album. I thought it was like a collection. Thought it was like a greatest hits or something. It was not. So I was like, oh, okay. But, you got, let's see, I'm going through all the songs again here. This one was kind of a new one for me. So Wheels of Confusion and The Straightener was good. Tomorrow's Dream. I don't remember Changes, FX, or Supernaut. I didn't add those. Same with St. Vitus Dance, but I think that one was interesting if I remember. I did know about the song Snowblind originally. That's always been one of my favorites. Cornucopia was good. Laguna Sunrise was interesting, and I really liked that one. And then Under the Sun and Every Day Comes and Goes. All great songs. Definitely going to be in the A tier at the very least. I might move it up to S tier. We'll see again how things stack up. But with the next album, though, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, when I got to that one, they started adding little bits of orchestration, especially on the second side of this album. They started adding a little bit of keyboards. You're getting into the early mid-70s, I would say, 73. Again, some of these album covers are a bit dark for me, but if you don't pay attention to that, I think the songs on this are spectacular. I actually am going to put this up here at S tier, at least for now. I pretty much liked every single song of the album. The only one that I don't have is Fluff. And, maybe it is just a bunch of fluff. I don't know. I can't remember much about that song, but every single other song on this album, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, A National Acrobat, Sabra Cadabra, Killing Yourself to Live, Who Are You, Looking for the Day, and Spiral Architect was really good. I remember that being quite amazing. All those just blew me away. I was like, wow, I had no clue about this. I'd heard about this album. I just never really dug into it. So very glad that I dug into it and found out a lot about that. Next album, Sabotage. Still very good, very heavy. Actually, doesn't have as much of the orchestration as there was on the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath album. It's just kind of more heavy again. I don't remember being too crazy about Hole in the Sky or Don't Start Too Late, but they might have been okay. As I'm working, I'm listening to these things, and if there's something that just really catches my attention, I'm like, oh, I'm going to add that to my playlist. So some of these might be like decent, but they didn't like blow me away from the first listen. I do know I liked Symptom of the Universe. Megalomania was amazing. The Thrill of It All, Super Sar, and The Writ. So, that alone makes it at least an A. It might be an S tier album. I will kind of refigure that out as I'm going through, but we'll put it at the top of A for now. I really liked it. But yeah, no, this is another album from Black Sabbath I had never really heard of, but then as soon as I started listening to Sabbath, of course, I start hearing people talk about this album and stuff. Maybe it's because he recently passed and people are like digging into it, but yeah, it's probably one of their top tier albums. Technical Ecstasy was one that my dad actually showed me. I think, which one was it that he showed me? I can't remember. Maybe it was like You Won't Change Me or It's All Right. I know I remember hearing this at one point, one of the songs. So I listened to the whole thing, and again, it has a little bit more keyboards and stuff because it's like 76 at the time. But I really liked the sound on this album. Kind of a cool image too of like a robots fighting or something like that. I can't really 100% tell what's going on there, but maybe they're interfacing, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure, but I really thought that, Backstreet Kids, You Won't Change Me, It's Alright, Gypsy. I think I liked All Moving Parts, Stand Still a good bit. She's Gone and Dirty Woman a lot. I don't remember liking Rock and Roll. I think that was just more kind of straight ahead. But again, another great album. I'm going to kind of put it here in A tier. I don't know. So I could go back and forth. Again, I haven't like internalized these albums yet. This is just going on like a first time listen all the way through perspective. Again, I did it pretty recently, so I have some recollection of everything, but I couldn't. If you played a riff from one of these songs, I could not tell you which song it was yet. It takes me a while to get to that point. But now, since they're all on my playlist, I should become more used to them in time, kind of like what I do with most bands. I'm having a good Chianti tonight, sorry about that. Had some steaks, so you gotta have red wine to pair with the steaks. Never Say Die, the last one with Ozzy. I thoroughly liked this album. Some of it's a little bit crazy, like Johnny Blade, and some of those I was kind of almost sounded like a movie soundtrack sort of thing. But I tell you what, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked Never Say Die, Johnny Blade, Junior's Eyes, A Hard Road, Shockwave, Air Dance, Over to You. As a matter of fact, the only two that I either wasn't crazy about or really didn't listen to enough was Breakout and Swinging the Chain. So, I mean, besides that, though, it's quite a fantastic album. It's a good kind of ending to Ozzy's first spurt with the band. I don't know if it's as good as Sabotage in terms of its material, but it's definitely up here somewhere. Some of the classics on Master Reality, though, might outdo it. Again, there might be more songs that I add from an album to my playlist, but some of the classics might just... they're just so good, and you listen to them so much, and they're just so good for certain occasions that sometimes I just can't put it ahead of it. But, I don't know, that's the thing. Black Sabbath is so good, I found, that I can't really... there's no, like, bad album. Well, we'll see. So we'll get to that. But then Dio joins the band, and... It's a different tone. Again, he's got that kind of very metalish sort of voice and everything, which I love his voice. I liked when he played with Kerry Livgren and Rainbow, obviously Dio's solo stuff. I really like all that. Do I think he matches with Black Sabbath's early tone as much? Maybe not. That being said, he gave a hell of a performance on these albums, and this one anyway, Heaven and Hell, is probably one of my favorites. Like, it's going into S tier, for instance, like, because I like Neon Nights. Children of the Sea is pretty much progressive metal. It's amazing. Lady Evil, Heaven and Hell, Die Young, Walk Away, and Lonely is the Word. I added pretty much everything. Wishing Well was the only one I didn't add. Can't remember too much about that, but this has always been, even before I dug into Sabbath, this was like the one Dio album that I truly knew. I knew like one song from Mob Rules. Which one was that again? I gotta bring it up. The Sign of the Southern Cross. And then when I listened to it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I know the title track of Mob Rules as well. But this was the one Dio album that I truly was like, oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah, Dio was the other singer for Black Sabbath until I found out there was like 5 different singers. So this one has always been an S tier for me. Again, for a lot of people, it's Ozzy or nothing. For me, I really like Dio's voice. There's some people that it just doesn't work for Sabbath, but what can I say? I have my flavors. So then we go to Mob Rules. Again, it's not quite as strong as Heaven and Hell, but I really like the Sign of the Southern Cross song, always have. The Mob Rules is amazing. And then when I listened to it, I actually really liked that Voodoo song, Country Girl, and Falling Off the Edge of the World. I think E5 150 was just some kind of sound effect little thingy or whatever that went into Mob Rules. I can't remember much about it. I wasn't crazy about Over and Over or Turn Up the Night, or I can't remember Slipping Away really, but it was definitely a good showing. I still like Dio's voice a lot. So I'm probably going to put it here in A, though now I'm starting to realize things might have to move down as I try to figure this out. Of course, I don't know if I could put Dio ahead of... So many of these albums, again, it takes a while to internalize a band and their album. So there's like probably very small differences to make one album better than another that I don't quite have figured out in my mind yet. Because with any of these, I would listen to this whole album and be content. So it's like, how do I differentiate these? It's different singers, of course, but I still really like the songs and the sound. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to put it like this for now. As you'll probably see, some of the albums that have meant more to me in the past, just because even if I just knew a couple of songs from them, those tend to go a little bit higher than ones that I didn't know quite as much. So, yeah, we'll kind of figure out how this all works out. Now we start getting to the albums that I'm not crazy about. So we got Born Again, and I gotta... Yeah, okay, so Glenn Hughes. Again, I love Deep Purple. I keep saying again, I've never talked about Deep Purple before. I need to go through all their albums again, too. I went through, like, all their 60s and early 70s stuff, and it's fantastic, but I haven't gotten to their later stuff very much yet. I know they came out with another album pretty recently, but... Okay, so Glenn Hughes with Black Sabbath, it doesn't work for me. He doesn't have a bad voice. I just don't think it really works with this music. I don't know what it is. So when I was listening to this album, I did pick out Stonehenge and Zero the Hero were pretty darn good for me. Everything else just didn't do it for me. I was not crazy about this album. It's got kind of like a creepy devil baby on it, you know. And it looks very Black Sabbath-y, but I did not like it. And if I'm going to have to put some things in D, that's going to go down in D for me. I'm sorry, there might be some people that are big Glenn Hughes Black Sabbath fans. It just didn't do it for me. Kind of the same with this Seventh Star album. So it's like, okay, so Tony Martin. No, that was Eternal Idol. What was... I had looked up which ones he did again. Which one was this? Let me look again. I missed it. He was saying on Black Sabbath's Seventh Star album. Again, I thought I had all this up. Okay, so Glenn Hughes did sing on that as well. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, no. Not Glenn. Ugh, I'm getting it all mixed up. Ian Gillan was on Born Again, but Glenn Hughes was on Seventh Star. Okay, that's it. Okay, I had to correct myself there. Okay, so Glenn Hughes is from Trapeze. I like his vocals better than Ian Gillan with Black Sabbath. So I was listening to it, though, and again, I was not crazy about the songs very much. I saw the song Turn the Stone as I was going through this. I'm like, oh, like ELO kind of. No, it's not the same thing. I liked No Stranger to Love, and then, of course, Seventh Star. I actually had heard that song before, and I really liked that. But the other songs just kind of either felt generic, or they weren't really doing it for me. So Seventh Star, for me, is going to be another one of these D-tier albums. I just was not crazy about it. I definitely could tell there was a difference in vocals, and I liked him a little bit more, but just wasn't crazy about it. But that's just me. There's probably some people that really, really like that album. Then you got the Eternal Idol, and I really liked this album. And that is, yeah, I think, yeah, okay, so Tony Martin then sang on that album. Okay. So, yeah, I think his voice was great. I really liked the way the instruments and everything sounded very heavy. I really liked the guitar tone in these next couple albums. I don't know who was the guitar. Yeah, Tony. Well, of course. He just was killing it on this album. I knew, of course, of The Shining. That was the one song that I knew from this album before going on to it. And I've always loved that song, not just because of the movie and the book, which are some of my favorite movies and books of all time, but just an amazing song. And then Ancient Warrior, Hard Life to Love, Glory Ride, Born to Lose, Nightmare, Lost Forever, and Eternal Idol. All amazing. Scarlet Pimpernel? I did not add that. I think that was just a little guitar interlude into Lost Forever, if I remember correctly. Again, it's probably not bad, but it's not really a song, if I remember correct. So it's like not something that I could truly like add to my playlist and be like, oh, there's like a good 30-second guitar little acoustic thing. It's not something that I'm going to add, but that doesn't make the album bad. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this album. Again, I knew a song off of it to begin with, so I'm going to put this up an A. See, this is when it gets difficult. I could probably switch any of these any day. And now we're missing some C's here, so we got to figure out some C's and stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to go crazy. I guess we'll have to do some reorg after I get my initial thoughts down. Headless Cross, I believe that's another one that, Tony Martin, still doing extremely well on this. I really, really liked this album. Actually, I only have one song that I don't have on my playlist from it, and that's The Gates of Hell. Now, I didn't know anything on this album when I first listened to it, but as I listened to it, I liked the title track, Devil and Daughter, When Death Calls, Kill in the Spirit World, Call of the Wild, Black Moon, Nightwing, Cloak and Dagger. As I was listening to it, I'm like, man, I might like it better than Eternal Idol. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed this album too. Very heavy. We're starting to definitely get into more of a late 80s, 90s sound, but I don't know. It feels more like kind of fleshed out at the same time. So I really like these two albums. I think I'm going to leave them an A for now, and then I'm going to have to figure out how all this goes. Again, it's hard to do when you like all of it, especially when you're doing one of these tier ranking videos. So now we get into tier, or whatever. It's some kind of Nordic thing. 1990, yeah. So I guess they're going in order here, but except for 13, which they put at the beginning, which was kind of weird. I did like this album. I forgot who sang on it. Is it Tony Martin again? Tony Martin's on all these. I do like his vocals a lot. I don't think it was as strong as the last two, but I did like Anno Mundi. That was it was a different sounding song, but I liked the sound. Jerusalem, the Sabbath Stones, the Battle of Tyre or whatever, and then Odin's Court. Valhalla was okay. It wasn't good enough for me to add, I don't think, and then Feels Good to Me. Very different album for Black Sabbath. Definitely a different cover, I think, for the album. It doesn't really match what most of their albums had up to this point. I don't really know. To me, even though I added a lot of the songs, it doesn't do as much for me as even these other albums in B. So I'm going to put this here at the end of B, and it might move down. It feels like a sin to call a Black Sabbath album a B or C, but it's not truly that. Like, even the D's here, I would listen to, and it's not rap or anything, right? I mean, it's metal. I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to be disappointed. Wasn't crazy about Born Again, but it's whatever. I like all these, so even if they're down here, they're not bad. So yeah, okay, we'll keep going. Dehumanizer. So Dio comes back, and I listened to this album. I was not crazy about it. And it's got such a cool album cover, and I really like Dio's voice, but I was not crazy about this album. And I don't know why. I liked After All the Dead, Master of Insanity, and Time Machine, and then I was pretty cool, if I remember that. So I like when they scream that. That'd be a good concert song. And there's some really cool names of songs like Computer God and TV Crimes and stuff, but it just didn't do it for me. I don't know why. That's probably gonna be my first C right there. It's not as bad as some of the D ones, but it does not do it for me. His voice is fine. The instrument playing is fine. It just whatever the style or whatever was going on with this, it just didn't hit me like the others. So I gotta put it there. Now the next album though, I did like a little bit more. Cross Purposes, which I believe Tony Martin came back, right? Let me verify that really quickly. Yep, Tony Martin on the vocals again. I don't know, whatever. Something about him just brings the band together, and I really like the sound of this one as well. So I got Cross of Thorns, Virtual Death, Immaculate Deception, Dying for Love, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Cardinal Sin was great, Evil Eye. I wasn't crazy about What's the Use, Back to Eden, or Psychophobia, or Eyewitness. I guess some of those were okay. But an album as in general, it was pretty darn good. I'm going to put it right above Tyre, actually, or Tyr, or whatever the heck it is. I'm not Nordic. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty darn good album. And then we got Forbidden, which I found out was still Tony Martin, but I'm not crazy about this album. I don't know what it was. I thought it was a different singer, actually. It sounded so different to me, and I don't know. I was not crazy about it. I did like The Illusion of Power and Rusty Angels on it, but everything else just did not strike. I mean, again, instrumentally it was decent, but none of the songs really caught my attention. None of them made me go oh, I gotta listen to that again. It's got a very cool album cover, but it doesn't do it for me. So yeah, I think for now I'm gonna have to put that at the bottom of C. Maybe after some re-listens, I could go back and redo this tier list eventually. But I did want to get this out there because, Ozzy's death is now, a few weeks old, and I still wanted to do a tribute to him. He's made such an impact on especially the metal world. I definitely got to do his solo albums at some point. I know, the first 4 solo albums and some stuff from his later ones, but yeah, especially the one that he's sitting in that chair. One of his newest ones. It might have been 2016 or whatever. He's got that Post Malone song, I think, on that one too. But anyway, I'll go through all of his stuff so I got a good idea of it. But yeah, I thought it'd be good to do this, and I know I haven't I've dug through all of them, but I've now not internalized them yet. So I could probably come back and redo this list eventually with a little bit of a better idea. But for now, I think this is pretty good, but now I gotta figure out this mess. So what goes up, what goes down? Because at the moment, I think that each row can have 4 or 5. I'm gonna make S have 5 because, I just like Black Sabbath so much. So we're gonna do Sabotage, Master Reality, if my computer will load it here. I feel like this seems pretty good for down here. Yeah, on any given day these can move around. Oh wait, that's right. I gotta move one down. Let me go back to what Volume 4 had again and think about it. Because if I'm gonna do 4 per row, that's gonna make that interesting. Yeah, Volume 4. Yeah, I actually don't have as many songs as I had on Mob Rules I liked, but the ones that are on there, especially Snowblind and Laguna Sunrise, I really like. I'm going to make a hard decision here. I'm going to move this down, keep that, move Tyre down, and move... This is how I want to keep it. Because here's the thing, I don't have as many songs off of 13 as I do these others. But Ozzy's back. Or actually, no, I kind of do. I kind of do have the same amount, so I can't really say that. Yeah, I'll be that guy. But this really should stay in B. But if I gotta be, oh, they can all have 4. Well, okay, I'll do this, and then I'll just move everything down one. If it What is going on with my computer or the internet? I think it might be these ads. Oh my gosh, at least moving that album is causing it. Jeez, it seems like a sin putting their first album down this low too. I really thoroughly enjoyed this album. But again, I got to be really strict on myself to keep it all the same. I kind of do what that Wheel of Prague does. I find it very interesting to to try to keep all the rows the same, because otherwise you could easily put like half of these up in S tier, and you can't be doing that. You got to be critical about yourself. So yeah, I think for now that is where I'm going to keep it. These two might even move around. I'm going to keep it like this. I'm not going to move it. I might redo this list again in the future after some more listens through. I'm going to get it down. I'm going to internalize some of these songs. Like if you played a riff of any Rush song or Styx song or Kansas or any of those bands, I could tell you what song it was pretty much immediately. I do not have that sort of internalization of these songs yet, except for the few that I've known for years. I mean, obviously Iron Man and stuff you're going to know right off the bat, or War Pigs, but until I get to that point, I feel like this is a pretty good list for me, and I'm going to leave it like that for now. So yeah, let me know what you think of how I've ranked these albums, and maybe your own ranking of these albums in the comments. Let me know other bands that you'd like me to kind of check out or rank. I was kind of going through Little River Band lately. I really like it's kind of yacht rock with like a little bit of a southern flair with also some progressiveness, and I don't know. Again, I always think there's progressiveness if the topic is not just like love songs or straight ahead sort of like rock and rollin' type stuff. But, they got all sorts of... Anyway, we'll get to that eventually. Really quickly before the end, of course, I've been forgetting in some of my videos the verse of the day, or night, I should say, because it's 10:55. I always get the chance to do these after my wife goes to bed. So anyway... Oh, this is interesting. I always forget that this book in the Bible exists. So the verse of the day comes from Nahum 1:7. You can tell it's an Old Testament verse by that book name. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knows those who take refuge in him. Amen to that. All right, so we started off with like kind of a dark tier list, and then we got to a very enlightening verse. How about that? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let me pull up the OBS client before I forget, and good night.